This is a transparent video. I make a lot of these on my other socials, but I don't think I've ever given a long form version of this here on my YouTube channel. And in the pattern of talking about radical, immediate self-honesty, it's important that I be deeply honest, not just about the joys of what I do, but the cost of doing this. You see, the work that I've chosen to do at the depth that I'm doing it is not for the faint of heart. And yes, I know, I'm sure that everybody feels that way about any of the kind of work that they may do that's related to promoting the welfare of humanity. But for me, I have to be extremely meticulous and precise about what I say, because most people see things as they are. And it's often through fractured lens that they know or don't know is fractured. They see things through a moralized framework that bypasses embodiment. And much of what I say gets miscontextualized, misread, misinterpreted because of it. And that's the template for the kind of world we currently live in. Instead of slowing down, reflecting, and tracing the context of what's being said, it gets escalated into defensive, condescending, superiority language, deflection, and abstract metaphors. My messages and my work do one of three things. One, I challenge abstractions. I say the hard, triggering things directly. Two, I remove the moral cover from the delays and the setbacks. They are more than divine protection and redirection. Most of them are structural barriers to keep distortion active on this planet. And three, I center pattern recognition over superiority complexes. I'm not impressed by self-concepts or credentials. Whether you're a healer, shaman, alchemist, doctor, psychoanalyst, the patterns matter. And destabilized minds latch on to titles rather than embodiment, which is the majority of the people in society right now. People are afraid to admit that they can't accurately read their own bodies without attaching it to some moral framework like God, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, planets, crystals, numerology, science, and anything I say related to the mechanics of this experience sounds like I'm projecting. But projecting would require me to deny nuance and universalize my internal state, which is what most of these moral frameworks are popular for. I speak in conditional, pattern-based language, and it requires you to get acquainted with the rhythm of your body and your nervous system without the sedative pull of morality. Now, this does not dismiss moral frameworks. Embodying the mechanics of the body and the nervous system contextualizes the morals. We have access to practical somatic and cognitive tools, nervous system literacy, and declassified information. So stop asking how. The how is waiting for you to stop leaning on quick fixes and bypassing what you really feel in the name of Jesus. That requires a level of radical, immediate self-honesty that's honestly energetically expensive in the conditions that we're living in right now, which reward bypassing, delayed, indirect, and sideways honesty. And this leads me to my current grief. This kind of collective disproportion feels extra intense because I'm not being proportionately supported in the ways that I show up. It's like I'm living in a world where the majority can't see me or hear me well enough to support me. And even the few of you who can see and hear me, it's not enough to feel sustained. It's just enough to keep me functioning. Now, not to sound grim here, but I honestly don't feel truly alive right now. I don't think I ever have. as much as I despise hearing the phrase, "Oh, you're ahead of the curve, Joseph," or "What you do is ahead of the curve," part of me has to sit with how accurate that is in many ways. Yes, I am ahead of the collective curve, but I'm bound and gagged by the curve's speed limit. I'm unable to feel fully immersed in this experience because it's so delayed. And I have no reference point for what a truly immersive, proportional human experience actually is. And so when I talk about the freestyle method, yes, this method can make that possible, but freestyle is part survival because of the disproportionate support. And most of the time delays are controlled by hidden parameters. It limits visibility and what's humanly possible, making prison-like conditions feel indefinite. And since most of this mess is structural, I'm only one person sharing the structure with many, and it's taxing to know what I know in a grid that moves at a pace that I don't move at, while also knowing that I'm not the only one doing this kind of work and holding a sturdy middle ground in all of this. But see, that's the perceptual mind trickery at play on this planet. You got to pay attention. We can only know what we see. We can only believe what we feel. And seeing and feeling are segregated under these conditions. But they overlap in ways that require unsedated, advanced pattern recognition to use them, not just for personal benefit, but to structural ends. And that's the part of the curve that the majority is lagging on. So for me, this experience feels like a lucid nut house every single day. No shade. And the only way that I've been managing this is through my creative containers and my ecosystem. But this current iteration of reality doesn't know how to support that proportionately, at least not through me. There are people being supported, doing adjacent work, sharing similar insights, but it's usually easier to metabolize, easier to fit into the existing systems without friction. But see, my work and my existence don't slide into those channels without friction. That's why I've never felt truly alive. Because the way that I show up restructures the channels themselves. And systems almost always delay or divert what threatens to reconfigure how circulation works. And so I'm left here with years worth of work, eternalized through books, digital content, music, living off scraps, hand-me-downs, heart emojis, fire emojis, reposts, shares, and follower counts, with no real-time financial overflow, no real-time material overflow, no real-time relational sustainability. Everything is $1 short and a day late. And that stings every day. But I show up. I write. I speak. I sing. I don't know what else to do. Or how long I'm coded to keep doing this. Or whether the conditions will ever become proportional while I'm here. Or, in historical fashion, it takes off after I'm gone. Or it takes off through someone else, and then years later, someone else finally gives me the credit. Now, don't misread what I'm saying here as some woeful pity party and some desperate attempt to get support. And I also don't need the comfort of hearing, "Oh, it'll happen while you're here, Joseph. Just trust." Please hear me with a clear heart. What I'm expressing here is not a lack of faith. It's not a blockage. Or it's not because I'm not hustling enough. I'm not collapsing. I'm not spiraling. And I'm not dramatizing. I'm living in a grid that can tolerate my existence and my creations as long as it doesn't have to materially reorganize around them. And this isn't unique to me. I'm just grounded enough to name it without moralizing it, which means the human part of me is too tired to feel excited about anything I don't have any guaranteed patterns for. I'm only excited when I'm able to flow with my creative nudges here. And when I release them to the public, they often get pulled into a vacuum or a void with delayed reactions and all of the other unwanted, bleak things that every creative artist despises, which makes you feel overlooked, underappreciated, and uncomfortable. That's the current pattern. No matter how much somatic or cognitive work I do, no matter how clear or grounded I am, I think it's because of those things that I'm not experiencing the proportionate support that I need. You see, grief is not behind the wheel of my personal vehicle here. I don't see this experience as some inevitable tragedy. It is a nut house, for sure, but that's only half true. Half of the corridor. I don't have the proportional evidence to support the other half, which is the sane house, the one that I inhabit inside the nut house. That's the grief. But it's braided into the process. It's not the arc of my story. It's not death and it's not failure. It's the possibility that the structures and the energies around me only catch on when it's too late, or it not through me as the vessel. That's the disproportion. I hate it. I'm exhausted by it. And as long as it's still active in the collective field, I won't pretend that it's sustainable as it is. So when I speak and when things feel triggering when I say them, I am talking to the structural pattern that we all, on many levels, can get easily sucked into and repeat over and over and over again while expecting a different result. I will say this cleanly. I know that I'm not invisible. I'm definitely not delusional. I'm not depressed. I'm not anxious. And again, I know that I'm not alone, but I am under-supported because my sane house hasn't been structurally built to be received in my fullness proportionately. So I remain in this contained hovering space with no desire to escape, to exit, or to push past anything prematurely. And even if I did have the desire, I definitely don't have the bandwidth. All I have are my words, my honesty, and my will to keep creating without gaslighting myself or anyone else about the cost of doing this kind of work under these social conditions. And I'm going to stop right there. But to dive deeper into what I mean when it comes to the mechanics and morality and the role that we're all being invited to participate in here, I encourage you to get a copy of my latest memoir, The Spiritual Awakening Nobody Talks About. It's available now at my online bookstore and on Amazon. There are signed copies in my bookstore, limited copies only, so check the link that's in the caption. And I'm going to love and let go for now. But in the meantime and in between time, please be kind and be gentle with yourself as I do the same.